Hey everyone, this is Comix. Welcome to The Backstory. If you're new to the series, it's about who indie content creators are, where they came from, and what lies ahead. In this series, I've contacted each creator to get specifics on themselves to share with you today, as well as share with you their current work. Alright, let's dive in. On this episode, we'll be hearing from Brett Mcgowan.
Who am I? My name is Brett Mcgowan. I reside in Tacoma, Washington. I am the writer and creator of Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale, which is one of the 3 launch titles of the Mythoverse that I started along with my partners Dan Sakaro, who writes Adobe Kroger, and Matt Trin, who writes Mythics. How many years I've been writing and drawing? It's difficult to answer. It's been kind of on and off for me as the years have gone on. To be honest, this is about my first published work. I had a bunch of ideas that I never really developed, but just kind of sort of like gathered dust. There was a period in my life where I was writing fan fiction. You won't find those though. If I was to answer how long I've been writing professionally, it would be about a year and some change. And what got me into writing was that, well, I've always wanted to work on comics since I was a teenager, but I just did not have the skill level or the proficiency to draw them myself. So I just moved over into writing, and it's just been something I've always wanted to do. Yeah, I didn't really study anywhere. It's just a lot of my writing's been self-taught. Stuff I remember from a lot of classes I took from in high school and college. Yeah, I can't point to any one place I really studied. It's kind of been more of a learn as I go process. And to be honest, I still am learning. What got me into comics? Well, when I was about 10 years old, my brother and I, we went to our first comic shop. We were living in Florida at the time. I guess what really kind of sparked my imagination was that during this period, my brother and I were really into Godzilla movies. And we found out that there were Godzilla comics. In fact, that was actually my first comic that I ever bought was a Dark Horse Godzilla comic. I even still remember which issue. It was Godzilla vs. G-Force. It's been over, 19 years and I still remember that cover. Had these 2 guys in suits just dangling from Godzilla's claws as he looked at them. I remember that cover clear as day. And I bought it when I was 10 years old. As years went on, my uncle would send us a box of Spider-Man comics like every other month, and it's just like, it was just one of those things we just got into and never really looked back. There was a period in my life where I was kind of out of comics, and then when I was in high school, I started getting back into them, and as well as manga. Writers that I've always found that inspired me were, I would say, Neil Gaiman. Sandman's like my favorite comic of all time. I would also be remiss to not include Brian Michael Bendis, although that caveat comes with more his earlier work. I'm talking stuff he did like with Daredevil, Alias, Ultimate Spider-Man. That's his good stuff. I wouldn't touch anything he writes nowadays with a 10-foot pole. I've also been into Tite Kubo, guy who made Bleach. I read a lot of manga too, so yeah, that was definitely an influence on my work. And although I would have to say it's like everything up to the Soul Society arc. Everything after that just goes downhill. Let's see. James O'Barr. He was the creator of The Crow. One of my favorite comic books of all time. Definitely people need to read that one. I've also been pulling a little bit from Bill Willingham. He wrote Fables. And there's also been digging into stuff from Brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, Terry Pratchett. Like, I've been pulling a lot into from fantasy authors. Advice I would give to aspiring artists looking to make their own comic, simple, just try. That's all I can say. Just try for it. Just try and don't give up. The thing that is going to be your biggest obstacle is just maintaining a rhythm. So, what helps is that you can set small, achievable daily goals for yourself. Like, say you're gonna get 1 page done a day or like a few panels done a day. It doesn't matter how much or how little you get done. You just gotta commit to doing it this little bit every day. Because it is about the only way that comic's never gonna see the light of day is if you never work on it. So, like, the best way I can sum this up is, if you try, maybe you'll fail. If you don't try, you definitely won't succeed. Depends on how you define project. I had a bunch of ideas that always failed to launch just because could not find an artist, or just things just kind of fizzled out. This is like my first legitimately actually published work, and so as far as like having prior experience, it's very, very barren. Any future projects I might be interested in creating, or genres? I'd rather focus on doing this one thing really well than overload myself with a bunch of ideas that I do either mediocrely or really poorly. I definitely want people to know about anything Mythoverse related, because like I said, it's not just me, there's also Dan, he has Adobe Kroger Dame Commander, and Matt, he has a Mythics. And honestly, I think you'd be remiss to not keep your eye on the Mythoverse, because we have a lot of enthusiastic people looking to join us and work with us. Thus, we're actually trying to work on building a legitimate, independent, shared universe. We are doing something I don't think anyone on our level has done. I would also keep your eye on Rags. Anything Rags does, you have to be watching. There's also Jack Irons. Now that I think about it, I was being stupid. Yeah, Mythoverse is the only shared independent universe. The Ironsverse, because Cody, he's just like, he's putting a Jack Irons, he's been working on Cactus Coyote, and I think he has a third book in that universe he's working on. I would also be watching my friend Antonella. You can find her on Twitter at Moonlight Shadow. Is that last O with an X though? She's done the art for our Mythochibis webcomic. She's working on her first novel. She's a talented artist, great person to work with, and I can't wait to read it. I would keep an eye out on that. There's also another artist we're kind of tight with, named Deputy Rust. He has 2 webcomics out, Unbreakable Iron Ranger and To Woo a Witch. They're both webcomics right now. I think he has them on Tapas or something. If you can find his Twitter, you'll basically find his stuff. Dude's it. And I also had to mention my friend Claylix. He is working on his first comic. It is a futuristic superhero comic called Clayman. And I gotta say, the enthusiasm and passion that guy has, that's gonna take him very far, and I know he's gonna succeed, because this is a guy who will play the long game.
That's it for this episode of The Backstory. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Brent. Let's support our indie creators. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers, where we'll be doing a giveaway for a free video game and a bus sketch from Raven Monroe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, and have a great rest of your day.